Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning into yet another episode of the Sports Muse Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Brumley, and I am joined by my co-host today, John. John, how you doing?
I'm pretty good today. How are you?
You're always doing pretty good, and I'm glad to hear it.
I told you,
um,
I just say it every day.
so, we're breaking down the AFC South. We're starting off the Colts. Make sure in the comments you drop your prediction for the Colts and what you think of our predictions. Do you think we're right? Do you think we're wrong? Do you think we're stupid? Just let us know. Hit us up in the comments and, really make fun of us. All right, so let's start with this, man. 2019, the Colts went 7-9. They were kind of up and down. They had some moments where it looked like they were getting the momentum going. When Marlon Mack ran all over the Chiefs, they looked really good. And then Jacoby got hurt a little bit. So it was an up and down season. So let's look at some additions that they got. They got their biggest one is they traded the first round pick for DeForest Buckner. They signed Trey Burton. They took a flyer out on Xavier Rhodes, which I think is a good deal. Like, I think they only signed him for like $2.5 million.
Yeah, and if he plays any better than he did last year, it's an improvement because he was pretty awful last year.
He was awful, and it's weird because, like, he was literally one of the best corners in the NFL, and now he was statistically one of the worst corners in the NFL this last season, and even the season before he wasn't great. So yeah. I'm not sure what happened. And then they also got a new quarterback. Well, a new quarterback for them, an old quarterback in terms of age, Philip Rivers. So as far as additions, not a ton, but the ones they did make, pretty big ones. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, with DeForest Buckner and Philip Rivers, they're definitely bringing, way more talent than they had on the team, I feel like.
And I would completely agree with that. When you look at departures, Funchess, who didn't get a lot of playing time last year because he broke his collarbone earlier in the season, Chester Rogers, Eric Ebron, Jabal Sheard, Hunt, Pierre, and Clayton Gathers. So, they lost some guys. Jabal Sheard did a good bit for him as far as off the edge. Eric Ebron was a pretty big one. Chester Rogers got a lot of playing time, but probably because of the lack of talent more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as that goes, I don't think they lost a ton. And then when we look at their draft, I really like their draft, actually. Michael Pittman, I thought, was one of the most underrated receivers coming into this draft. And I think that was their biggest weakness is for a while now, they've been pretty weak at the wide receiver position. So they got him, they got Jonathan Taylor, Julian Blackman, and then they got the project QB. It's going to kind of, sit in the wings, learn behind Jacoby, learn behind Philip Rivers, and Jacob Eason. So, what do you think about the, additions, departures, draft picks? What do you think?
Definitely in their favor. Between the additions, their draft picks, and, when you take the departures, they're not losing a whole lot of production, I feel, from their departures. Ebron was maybe like the biggest contributor on offense. But yeah, their wide receivers are T.Y.'s constantly getting banged up, missing games. So signing Michael Pittman, he should be solid. And then, Jonathan Taylor should be exciting to see what they do with him and Marlon Mack because them two together could be kind of deadly.
Oh, I completely agree. That backfield's crazy packed. Like, yeah. It makes me feel like someone's going to have to get cut or traded because they also have Nyheim Hines, mm-hmm. Who's going to be their third down back, which I think they'll keep. But Jonathan Wilkins, I thought they kind of liked him. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with him.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, I said Jonathan.
Yeah. And you got to wonder if, is Nyheim Hines going to be even better this year? Because look at the production that Philip Rivers always has with pass catching running backs. So is that just Austin Eckler being great? Or is that Philip Rivers, just doing what he can with great athletes? And will Nyheim Hines benefit from that?
And that's actually a really good point that I didn't really think of. But yeah, we could definitely see Nyheim take a big jump. So, my thoughts on the roster as a whole, because I do feel like they have the best offensive line in the NFL. Their offensive line is across the board, Pro Bowlers, all pros, led by
Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, led by Quentin Nelson. I couldn't think of his name for some reason. A definite upgrade in the wide receiver position. And like I said, it's the best it's been in a few years. The D, I feel like, needs a few guys to step up. They have a stud at each level with, Buckner up front, Leonard in the middle, and then Hooker in the back end. And they have, Kenny Moore. They have some other guys, but they're going to need some of those guys who might not be, quote unquote household names to really step up. And then if that happens for that defense, I think they're going to be a really good team. And obviously, if Philip Rivers cuts down his turnovers, because last year was his third time in the NFL with 20 or more picks. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they'll have a better year. I mean, just purely because, I mean, even if their defense, I just felt like their offense kind of always put their defense in bad spots at times last year. Like they tended to play it safe with Jacoby Brissett. And I mean, they playing safe, like, yeah, you're playing that field advantage, but a lot of times, sometimes you're putting that defense in a not a great start or a great spot. So I think this year with Philip Rivers, I mean, if he can control the turnovers, can flip that a little bit for them.
Oh, and I would completely agree with that, 100%. Which brings me to my biggest question. To me, is it does Phil Rivers still have it? Like I said last year, 20 picks, third time he's done that in his career. But then when that's the number that really jumps off the page at you, right? Because he had the second or third most picks in the NFL last year.
Okay.
But then you look at his stats. His yards per attempt were high. His yards were high. And you look at the other quarterbacks were among that kind of statistical area. He had less pass attempts than those guys. So actually, I feel like last year was a lot better than I thought until I kind of dove a little bit deeper into it, which makes me think higher of the Colts than I thought of maybe a week ago. How about you?
I mean, I'm high on the Colts right now, personally. But I mean, I definitely think that they could have a good year. And yeah, I mean, I think Philip Rivers, I think he'll turn it around and have a good year. But then the only thing that has me worried is I don't know if he had better offensive weapons last year or this year. It's kind of tough. I mean, with Michael Pittman and we'll see what he does. And then is Paris Campbell going to be back and healthy? So he could potentially have even better weapons than he did. So will that help him? I think so.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, when's the last time we've seen Philip Rivers play with a great offensive line? I don't know if he ever in a single year in, Los Angeles, San Diego, whatever, if he ever had a above average line. I mean, there was times where he had a decent line, but he's never had the line that he has right now. So I'm kind of curious, man, what's Phil going to look like dropping back with actual time on his hands? That's something we haven't seen in the, 16, 17 years Philip Rivers has been in the league.
Agreed, 100%. And that's why I think I have them taking steps forward this year with Philip Rivers under center.
And you're bringing in a veteran, and he's one of those guys where, yeah, he's never won, quote unquote, the big one, but I think he's a winner, and I just think that, some of the times he's taken them into the playoffs, he might, the one year they made it to the title game, he blew out his knee. So I do feel like he's a guy that could, get them over the hump. The question is, how do they stack up in the South? What do they look like against some of the other teams in the division?
For me personally, I have them taking the division this year, but I mean, I think it'll be tight between them and the Titans. I mean, I think they're head and shoulders above the other two teams. So I have them pretty close with the Titans, but a decent amount ahead of the Texans and Jaguars.
And I would agree with that. When I look at the South, it's tough because even, I think the Jaguars are the clear basement team, but I still don't think they're an easy W. I feel like the Texans won it last year, the division, and I do think they got worse. But with Deshaun Watson, they're always in the game. When you have a quarterback that elite, you're always in the game. And then I do think it comes down to the Colts and the Titans, and it's gonna be interesting. You start looking at, did the Titans take a step back? Did Tannehill, overproduce? Can Derrick Henry replicate that season? Do the Colts now become better since they have, a quality veteran quarterback? There's a lot of question marks in that division, but, I think it's a really good division. Which kind of brings me to is, what do you think their overall prediction? What's your overall prediction for the season in 2020 for the Colts?
Well, I have them finishing first for the AFC South, and I have them finishing with an 11-5 record.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm big on the Colts this year. I like them a lot. I mean, I just think they have a lot of weapons. And I think their defense will improve. I mean, especially with the addition of DeForest Buckner. So I I don't know. I just like what I'm seeing from the Colts. So
And I understand that. I was really torn between 9-7 and 10-6.
hmm.
I ended up going with 9-7 for the simple fact that I'm kind of worried with, Philip Rivers getting a little bit up there in age. He's a tough guy, man. Like, you're gonna have to really get to him to get him out of the game. Ty's banged up a lot, and then once Ty's gone, you're getting pretty young in that, Paris Campbell second year, Michael Pittman rookie year. Um,
I mean, and Paris Campbell didn't really play much last year.
Exactly. So I ended up going 9-7, but I think they have a chance to make the wild card since they expanded it. And like I said, I could easily see 10-6. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't see this team being a bad team at all. When you look at the basement compared to the ceiling, I feel like this team has a great basement where, like, worst case scenario, I think they're an 8-8. I think they're for sure going to improve upon the record from last season. But at the same time, I don't think their ceiling's as high as some teams. But, when you're talking about the Chiefs and Baltimore, clearly they have higher ceilings. And that's not a knock on the Colts for not having that kind of ceiling. So like I said, I do see them sneaking into the wild card, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they make playoffs because I mean, I kind of want to see Philip Rivers go far in the playoffs, see what see what he can do. I mean, he's just always been he's like that player, like he just talks shit. Like I don't know, I kind of like it. So,
Well, he's an old school gunslinger, man. Like he's like the modern day Favre kind of.
A little bit. So I would like to see him and because I do feel like this definitely. I mean, with Quentin Nelson and Anthony, however you say his name, Costanzo, like yeah, they're beasts. So I mean, he should have plenty of time. So that I mean, I just think hopefully we'll see a new Philip Rivers. So I'm excited to see this team.
Absolutely. And to get off of the parting shot is this probably. I feel like this isn't going to be a take you hear very often. I don't think they should have drafted Jonathan Taylor. I think they should have gone D instead. There were some great safeties on the board. Winfield was still on the board when they selected Taylor. It's not that I don't like Jonathan Taylor, but how I said that I feel like that wasn't the weakness last year. I think I do like Marlon Mack more than most people. And I think Jonathan Taylor's going to help. I think it's a deadly 1-2 punch. It, has the chances of being the best in the league as far as a 1-2 punch. I don't know. I just feel like they could have gone in a different direction to help round out the team a little bit more. They got stronger in a strength instead of getting stronger in a weakness. But if they have Taylor high on the board, then I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I definitely see, I'm always with running backs later rather than sooner. Like, I'd rather take other positions and just wait on the running back. So, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that. My parting shot is Paris Campbell's going to come up huge. He's going to lead the team in receiving, and he'll be kind of what pushes the team over the edge.
Wow. Okay, that's bold. So you think he's going to, be better than Pittman? He's going to overtake T.Y.
I just think he'll have more production than T.Y., where T.Y. is going to be like the one, but he'll just have more yards, touchdowns. I mean, just because T.Y. will just always take that number one corner. So I just think that Paris Campbell will end up with a little bit better stats-wise. And then I just think Pittman, like, he'll still be learning and everything. So
I do like that. The idea of, Philip Rivers likes to put it down the field, give it to the speedster. I like that. That's bold, but that's an interesting one. So, like I said, guys, we appreciate you for tuning in. If you guys like it, subscribe, like, all that stuff, and make sure you drop your prediction in the comments, and we'll see you guys next time.